Hello and welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to be talking about the full release of MultiWorseus. MultiWorseus was a free-to-play platformer fighter with a roster comprised mainly of Warner Bros. Characters. You might have seen footage of it on my channel as it was in a state known as an open beta for a long period of time before the servers were shut down and the devs worked on the full release. The footage you see here is of the game's final, or current I should say, iteration, the grand spanking opening of MultiWorseus. While the open beta was far from being flawless, it was still a game that people greatly enjoyed. For a time, it had the highest number of concurrent players on Steam out of any fighting game in history, owed in large part due to its free-to-play nature, but also due to the fun of the gameplay itself. However, after a period of time, the amount of stuff the devs had to work on became too much for such a small team. There were just a million things to work on at once, and they couldn't really prioritize anything. New characters, a better netcode, more stages, more skins, whatever, it's just a bunch of crap that had to be sorted out. So the devs made the difficult decision of shutting down the online features, leaving just the lab, the training mode, and the settings available for people who had the game downloaded and installed. Now, there are many reasonable assumptions that one could very well make about what the game would be like when it relaunched. People assume that it would be basically the same, but more characters, more stages, a less crappy battle pass, maybe a PvE mode, or those guilds that they talked about in their introductory video about the game. Instead, they made very drastic changes, ones that fundamentally and greatly alter the nature of the gameplay, and not in a good way. Before I talk about this, I'd like to discuss a few things that I actually like about the full launch of the game, as it isn't a total disaster. The new stages are actually pretty fun. I've played on the Townville stage a few times and generally enjoyed my time on it, and I was able to play on the Dexter's Lab stage once. I enjoyed it, but my potato IQ'd Finn partner basically ate 3 out of the 4 deaths near instantly, and I never saw that stage again. I very much would like to have a system that allows me to at least hone in or make more likely certain stages over others, because some stages are much more fun to play on than others. And this is only going to become worse as they add more stages when you want to play on the fun new stuff but you're stuck on the Steven Universe stage or the Rick and Morty stage for the 11th time. One of Marvin's 2 taunts from the open beta has him declaring something in the name of Mars, but in a goofy fashion his visor falls over his eyes and have to be adjusted. For his Commander X2 skin, the same taunt has his helmet become slightly ajar, requiring him to adjust it. This is not something from the open beta. In the open beta, he just kind of awkwardly saluted. So it is a small detail, but I have noticed it. It's something that makes a taunt, if nothing else, seem more worthwhile to purchase for people who already have the Commander X2 skin. But now it's time to talk about some of the issues introduced with the full release of the game. One being is that the characters are fucking massive and the camera gets way too close. I know it doesn't look like this on this stage. In fact, it's like the only stage other than the Dexter's Lab one where the character seems to respect your need for personal space. If there was a complaint that the characters' movesets are too difficult to read, they have vastly overcompensated for that by making everything too damn big and too damn close. This is something I've expressed concern for in other videos, and I suppose my concerns have been vindicated. And this is for 2v2s where there's at least a chance that someone's going to be on the other side of the stage, so the camera has to pull back. In 1v1s, it's significantly worse, to the point where, for example, people playing Tom and Jerry might not even know where the hell Jerry even is, because the camera doesn't treat the mouse as a character. The amount of hit stun that occurs for every move makes a game feel more like a Zack Snyder movie than a platform fighter. And whatever adjustments they've made to how characters are knocked back since the open beta is just night and day worse. If you're hit with over 100 damage, you might as well be sent to the moon. You're thrown back at speeds much faster than the human brain can even register. Maybe it's due to the size, maybe it's due to the camera, maybe it's due to some numbers messed around, but it is just less appealing to look at and play in the full release and was in the open beta. And this may just be an opinion I hold and I hold alone, but I don't like the fact that you can't pass through characters anymore by just moving. It's just overall less fun. The UI and menuing is night and day worse. For most of my time playing, I was convinced that there were no unique character perks for Marvin the Martian, because before a match starts, you choose your perks and skills, just like in the open beta, but the ones available are ones that Player First Games pre-made to be available for anyone who just installed the game. And the only way to find your own character-specific perks is if you go to the lab, and then you fiddle around with the perks there and set a new custom perk, and then, and only then, can you then use your character-specific perk during actual matches. Meanwhile, during the open beta, all of the options were available while you were waiting for the match to start. In fact, let's talk about the lab for a bit. I spent an hour and a half watching Twitch streamers in order to unlock this Summer Garnet skin. And since I have the skin, hey, why not use it in the game itself? The problem being, I haven't unlocked Garnet in the open beta, so I will have to buy her anew. However, buying a new character is extremely expensive. It can be 10 actual US dollars worth of premium currency, or 3,000 of these shitcoins that you barely get. But no worries, I'll see if the commitment is worth it. I'll hit the lab and test her out and see if I enjoy her kit, and if I do, I'll make the purchase. No problem, right? Well, as it turns out, I can just go fuck myself, because if you haven't unlocked a character, you can't even use them in the lab. Nor could you use them in local play. Literally sit down with your bro or your family, playing on the couch, single player, offline, whatever. You can't even do that. There's like 26 characters in the game, and you have access to 5 of them at any given time, with the ability to access others being prohibitively restrictive. This was a problem in the open beta, and it's only going to be worse here, as because of this, people are going to naturally just go with the meta with whatever character is insanely broken, and you're going to have to put up with seeing the same characters over and over and over again. Also removed from the lab is the ability to turn off cooldowns. So if there's a combo that you want to try out that utilizes a move with cooldown, you're just gonna have to wait around like an asshole until the game lets you use that move again. The ability to experiment in the lab has been absolutely gutted. You cannot use characters that you haven't unlocked yet, and for characters that you have unlocked, you don't have access to their full arsenal because of a removed feature. These were things that were in the open beta that not only did no one have a problem with, they were things that the game was even lauded for including. They were things that people thought were an acceptable way of addressing the fact that not every character is available unlocked at the start of the game. For the life of me, I simply cannot comprehend why such a decision was made. MultiWorseus is a free-to-play game. That means the developers make money through microtransactions, like people purchasing various skins. In the open beta, you are able to adjust how characters appear on screen. You can either give them team colors, or a special colored outline, or both, or neither. In the full release, you don't have those options. Characters will be colored in whether you like it or not. There is simply no way to change that. So, if you spent money on a skin and you want other people to look at it, you're kind of out of luck because all they're going to see is a colored blotch on the screen. The only person looking at that skin is you, and everyone else isn't going to notice it. They have removed a feature that has fundamentally ruined a major part of their own financial strategy. I defy them to find the one person on the entire planet who didn't like the idea of just having colored outlines and needed the characters to be colored in at all times, and I asked them to send that person to those Chinese monks who took a vow of silence so he will never fucking make a suggestion again. Again, I am baffled that something that was part of the open beta is now missing from the full release for seemingly no good reason. Playing MultiWorseus after the open beta is like playing Scorn after the Kickstarter demo. They added premium currency to the Battle Pass, and that's great. It's what Fortnite does. It's what allows people to continue playing Battle Pass after Battle Pass. However, just playing the game, just going round after round, is not enough to actually get experience for the Battle Pass. You have to do these small mini-challenges, like get a certain number of downward spikes or whatever. However, if you're doing these little mini-challenges, then you're not going to be paying as much attention to just playing the game and winning, meaning you're going to be taking loss after loss potentially, over and over, all for the sake of grinding the Battle Pass. It goes without saying that the open beta was a bit different, with the fact that if you win or lose a match, you still got some XP regardless, even if you didn't do any of the daily challenges. There's still no items in casual mode. It's still strictly based on fighters and whether or not someone plays Bugs Bunny and is willing to crouch for a moment. And saying casual might be a bit of a misnomer because it's not like there's a competitive mode either. The game has launched without a ranked mode again. And the very frustrating thing about all of this isn't a game that people wanted to fail. It's not Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League where it was fucked from the start. It's a game people liked and wanted to like. It's a game I wanted to like. I always wanted a Smash Brothers clone with Looney Tunes characters, and I got that and a little bit more. And yet, I don't want to play this anymore. Like, after my first several sessions playing yesterday, I really don't have any desire to open the game and find a match. If I can even find a match that lasts more than a few seconds, because the footage you're seeing here is one of the very rare few where it doesn't desync and send me back to the main menu. I'm just not interested in the prospect of fighting a bunch of other people clumped together on the Steven Universe stage once again. And that is probably the most tragic thing about it. A year of eagerly anticipating the game's relaunch, only for it to leave me feeling dry and hollow. I don't know if it's an issue with Player First Games or Warner Brothers, and quite frankly, I don't give a shit. It doesn't matter. If it's Warner Brothers, fine. Put Zaslav on the phone and let me talk to him. But as it stands now, dude, this sucks.